welcome to another edition of Paperball and Pen Tube. Today we are doing our major pellet test. We're both new to shooting. We've been doing it for a little while now, maybe about 6 months, but we're not that great. So we thought, which pellets are going to suit us, which are going to be the most forgiving to new shooters. So we've set up a 15-yard kind of range in our back garden, and we've got quite a selection of pellets to go through. So hopefully, kind of you guys can benefit from our errors and kind of see which works the best for you. Safety is paramount. Keep everything locked away when it's not in use, just to make sure kind of small hands can't get to it. But otherwise, it's a good activity for me to do with my son here, who's 9. And yeah, ultimately it's very similar to a paper ball in a pen tube. It's just air shooting out a pellet, so make sure you don't kind of shoot at anything. We're just target shooters, and yeah, it's good activity for us. So we've got a wide range of pellets to test today. The gun we're using is our Crosman nitro piston fire. It has got a better scope on it than it came with. We've got a lovely Hawk scope there, just to kind of make things a bit easier. It's got a better zoom on it, and it's got a better focus, so that kind of helps a little bit. The scope that came with the rifle was perfectly adequate, but we just thought we'd upgrade it after a little bit. I want to kind of give a shout out to some companies that provide us with some of the pellets. Otherwise, buying 15 different types of pellets is going to be pretty expensive. Please, I want to say thank you to JSB. They sent us some of their range. Thanks to those guys, and to Bisley, they did likewise, and to a local provider, Countryway Gun Shop. They're down in Hampshire. Check out their website. They got some good deals. That's where I bought my scope from, out of my own money, because they had the best deal around. So thanks a lot to those guys. So let's have a quick go through the pellets that we've got, just to show you what we're going to be testing today. We've got some Victory Implodes, which are quite a basic pellet. We've also got some H&N Sniper Lights there. You'll see on some other reviews, they've got some quite good reviews, so glad to have those. We've got some RWS Super H Point, another type of hollow point. We've got H&N Sport Target Trophy as well. So we've got a good selection. We've got kind of domed and some hollow points here. We've got some Bisley Pest controls. They're quite popular as well. We've got some of the new JSB Hades. That'll be interesting to see how they do. Kind of they're a halfway house between a domed and a hollow point. So really interested in seeing how they do. We've got some David Nicholson Magnum domes there. It's quite a new one to me, not seen them before, so good to have those. We've got JSB Stratons, a pointed hunting pellet. Good to get a range of different styles, so it's good to have those. We've got RWS Super Field, another popular one. Great to have those, see how those do. We've got some Excite hammers, which are slightly different again, so try to get as much variety as possible. We've got JSB Exact Jumbo RS. They're the lightest ones in their range, so I wanted to see kind of how our light pellet did. We've also got the opposite end of that scale, the JSB Jumbo Heavies, so we'll see how those compare together. We've got Sovereign Rangemaster, quite a popular one again. Really like the look of those. We've got Air Arms Diabolo Fields. Again, another kind of top company for pellets. And last but not least, we've got something else that's a little bit different. It's the Predator Polymags, which are hollow points with an extra point added into them. So a great range of pellets there. I hope you'll agree. What we'll do when we finish shooting, we'll do shooting groups of 5. We'll put them into a table, and we'll compare. We'll also kind of have a look at the particular pellets. We'll grade them on their quality, whether they've got any damage, whether they're dirty, and on their price. If you're new to this sport, you know, you might not have a lot of money to spare, you know, so we'll see whether you get a lot of difference by paying a lot more. So let's go do some shooting, and we'll come back to you with the results. See you in a bit. That was a lot of fun doing that shooting. It took a few days to do it, so there might be variations in the weather, but hopefully not too much. Some days we're a little bit windy, but as we say, we're not expert shooters anyway, so you know, it's not going to be dead on. But just trying to see which are the most forgiving to us as new shooters. So I've done a spreadsheet which shows how they all performed. We're going to do a kind of little bit of a countdown. Basically, a spreadsheet that you'll see in a second shows the weight of them all, of which there's no correlation, so the weight didn't make any difference at all. The type of pellet, that didn't make any difference as well. There's a real kind of mishmash of domes and hollow points and everything all over the place. Price per pellet, that's something we're going to take into account, because you know, if you're only getting a millimetre closer in your spread. You don't want to be paying 3 times the price. That's just not value for money for a new shooter. Regarding the spread, we've done the best 4 out of 5 because we're not experts, and pretty much you can guarantee that at least one of our shots we've made a complete mess of. So best 4 out of 5 I think was probably the best way to judge it, and we've kind of done the value of money, and we've also looked at each of them just to check their quality. So I'm afraid we'll start with the naming and shaming. So in the second to last place was the David Nickerson Magnum Domes. The price per pellet was okay, kind of mid-range. The diameter spread, that was pretty poor. It was 30 millimeters, which is the second worst. The value for money was pretty average. Quality wasn't great either. 3 out of 5 they scored on quality because they're quite a dirty looking pellet, kind of scratchy. So sorry guys, you know, they're okay I guess if you're out and you just kind of plink in doing stuff like that, but they did score very well. And unfortunately the last in our list was the Victory Implodes. They were the cheapest, which worked in their favour, but they were by far the worst accuracy wise. They're all over the shop. In fact, they are the first pellets that I ever bought, and they almost put me off shooting because I couldn't get anything straight with them until I changed some variations. But like I say, as just kind of messing around pellet, they're the cheapest. By all means, you know, they're good for just kind of popping around the garden and whatnot. Also, you know, quality wise, they are covered in oil. You know, they are a mess. So yeah, so use sparingly. So that's, you know, each to their own. Nobody's getting a proper rating today. So we'll move up to the best. So we'll do the top 5 in reverse order. So in 5th place was the RWS Super Field. Kind of quite cheap, so did well on price. Spread 23 millimeters. That's not too bad. That was right in the mid range. And the quality, that was quite good. 4 out of 5 for the quality. Consistent pellet, and yeah, kind of really like shooting those. So well done to those guys. That's a great effort. So moving on to 4th place now. 4th place was, and this might surprise some people, it was the Predator Polymags. I've still done some other kind of pellet tests, these being quite inaccurate, but at 15 yards they worked well for us. They are one of the most expensive though, so you know, watch out for that price if you don't want to spend a lot. Let's say 14mm spread, so that's great. That's one of the top spreads. I think that's second overall. Quality magnificent. Each of them were perfect, so they got full 5. So I think it's just the price let them down, you know, on that one. But that's a great pellet. You know, thoroughly recommend those. So let's go up into the top 3. Drum roll? No, don't need drum roll. Okay, a small drum roll there. Okay, so in 3rd place is H&N Sniper Light. Now this is a funny looking pellet. It's got a kind of little skirt on it with indentations. You can't see it on the front picture there, but when you look at them, actually it's almost like this edge. It's kind of like that. And yeah, they were beautiful. They fit really nicely into the gun. They shot real nice. Kind of mid-range on the price. 17mm spread, which is great. Quality was 5. You know, so you know these were a great pellet. Oh, there you go. Is a close up look. If you can just see, you can get close enough. If the camera will zoom in now, I think it's going to focus. It's going to ruin us. But you can just see on the edge there, on the skirt edge, that it's got like a little perforated edge. So yeah, they're kind of a funny pellet, but you know, really enjoyed using those. And I would be really happy to use those going forward. So that's a great pellet. Seems a bit stiff though, apparently. Okay, right, top two, right, getting exciting now. Let's go. In 2nd place is JSB Hades. Now, this is a surprise as well, because this was by far the top performing hollow point. it's quite expensive. It was, you know, one of the more expensive of them, but of them all, it had the best group. So it scored really well on those, really well on the quality as well. You know, that is a lovely pellet. You know, they're brand new, and I can see why JSB brought them out, because they are quite magnificent. But yeah, price, you know, for us new shooters, where price is key, you know, we're not got a lot of money, you know, they are a little bit more expensive. So, but that's a great pellet, you know. I have no problem with using those, you know. So, should we move on?
Yeah.
To first?
Yeah.
What can beat that? I hear you saying, what can beat that? Here we go. In first place, on our scores anyway, you know, the way we've done them, is the Excite Hammer. So that, which is an H&N product, although it doesn't really state it very obviously, it's just quite hit down here in the small print. It's an H&N product, the Excite Hammer. It's done really, really well, because it was the second cheapest, yet it was only 4mm, separating it from the Hades on the accuracy. So for that price difference, you know, I can't vote against it. Quality wise, they're brilliant. They're not as kind of, you know, flashy as kind of the JSBs, which are super polished and super clean, you know, and they're slightly kind of more old school looking. But for that accuracy, for that price, you know, they have just snuck it. It was a really close thing in the end, but that's the one we're going for, and that's a great effort. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Like I say, we'll put our spreadsheet kind of on this video in a minute. There you go, there's an example there. Like I say, it's slightly tarnished. If you compare that to, say, the Sniper Light, which, you're right, that is a stiff tint. You can see the difference between the two. That's a very shiny, you have to hold them a bit higher. Hold them back a bit so it just gets the focus. That's it. So that was slightly tarnished, and that one's, and the Sniper Light is much more shiny, and, you know, well polished. But yeah, so that's the only downside, is a little bit of quality. Like I say, it was really close between this and the Hades, and yeah, it's just snuck it in the end. So fair play to that. But any of those would be great. To be fair, any of them, you know, any of the top 10, you know, I'd be happy to use. And yeah, and look forward to it. I think what we're going to do next is we're going to find a way to extend the range. Maybe do a small sample of maybe the top half a dozen or so at a further range, just to see how they compare, whether they can be consistent over that range. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Here's our winner right there. Well done to you, boy. The H&N Excite Hammer. Each pellet works different with each gun, but on our gun, that was the winner. Fair play to him. Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers then. Bye bye.